with no allowance. Brought that to our attention, so we had an excellent lecture committee as well today. Now, one of the things I suppose is public engagement that our funders are interested that we're involved in, and because research is done using public funds, taxpayers' money, and one of the things we're trying to get our students to do and try to do ourselves is to explain what we do in layman's language. And, try at least. It's not so easy. Okay? So we have a competition called Threesis, which I think most universities have something like this. With Flame Lab and Soapbox Science and Pint of Science and all these kinds of activities to try and explain to the public. But Threesis is an NUI Galway initiative where students or researchers are to try and explain their story in 3 minutes with 3 slides for 3 judges. We have 3 judges, I'm delighted to say, chaired by Professor Angela Savage, Emeritus Professor Emerita in the university, and also then Ethna Byrne and Leanne Dillon. So they're our judges, and not necessarily scientists, but so they're going to be judging whether our group of students, which of them will give the best presentation. We have a prize for first and second, and then we have a prize for everybody. So we're very grateful to them for putting themselves forward. Not everybody did. So and it's been challenging for them, and we'll see now what they do. So we start with the first. So it's 3 minutes, 3 slides. Now they're not allowed to have any movies or anything like that. I've experienced that myself. So our first speaker is from NUI Galway. She's working with Maria Tui, and it's Rosalia Martinez Lopez, and she has been working on brown seaweed polysaccharides, very much Dylan's research was in seaweeds as nutraceuticals of the future. So, Rosalia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosalia Martinez, and I'm a PhD student in biochemistry. And today I'm going to try to explain to you how seaweed may become a solution to secure food safety. You might not know that 1/3 of the global food production is lost because of microbial spoilage. So that's why food safety and food quality are major concerns in the food industry at the moment, and manufacturers are looking for natural solutions to reduce microorganisms in food, especially after antibiotics in food were forbidden in Europe because they were proved to cause resistance in humans. Seaweed have been used for many centuries as food, cosmetics, or fertilizers, especially in Asia. But they have attracted the attention of the nutraceutical and biotechnology industries in the last decades because they are a good source of bioactive compounds. They don't require any land to grow. They grow at high rate, and they act like a natural CO2 sink. Moreover, seaweeds are rich in three group of carbohydrates, which are alginates, fucoids, and amino acids. These are of major importance because they cannot be found in terrestrial plants, and they have many disparate bioactivities. Among them, their periodic potential is a hot topic. By this time, you might be wondering what is a prebiotic. Prebiotics are carbohydrates that escape digestion but undergo bacterial fermentation in the large intestine, providing hosts with beneficial effects. In this regard, it was thought that maybe other probiotics could be a good substitute for antibiotics because they promote animal growth and they provide them with a natural defense against pathogenic bacteria. A particular case of interest here in Ireland is the Campylobacteriosis infection. Campylobacteriosis is a gastrointestinal disease caused mainly by the consumption of poultry infected with Campylobacter bacteria. It has been reported that the issues associated to campylobacteriosis are 8 times higher than the associated to salmonella. In this regard, in our lab, we have discovered that the implementation of polysaccharides-rich extracts from seaweed harvested from the Irish coast can reduce up to 1,000 times the presence of this bacteria in poultry, and this might lead to a reduction of 34 degrees in human infection. That might lead us to think that prebiotics from algae could be the natural antimicrobial solution that the food industry is seeking to improve the food. Thank you so much for your attention.
Neville is going to talk about Trojan burgers for Trojan receptors. And Neville is doing his PhD in the School of Chemistry with Dr. Thomas.
How are you now? I'm Neville. I'm just going to chat to you about some Trojan burgers here. So, one of the many things that makes us tick are proteins and their bodily functions such as digestion our food. And the way they do that is they take in whatever it is they want to work with, the mouth here, or the receptor site. And what's in the mouth is lots of taste buds that interact with what they want to work with. And they change it and it moves on. So what also relies on these proteins are diseases such as cancer and HIV. And one way of fighting these diseases is to trick them into thinking that our drugs are their food, goes into their mouth, and doesn't come out, and they can't work, cease to be. And there's multiple ways of an attempt at doing this, so just changing their regular food, taking a chewy orifice and sticking a metal in between them, that's good because metals can change how these orifices interact with the taste buds of the protein, but the taste buds are in this 3D core, so you want something that's three-dimensional that has the maximum effect. And that's where the burger comes in. Lovely tasty burger goes in, it's interacting with all the taste buds, it's very happy, and it won't come out. So that's our burger there, or that's our protein here. He's had a hard old day and he just wants a few burgers, you know, and we're there to serve them up. And so, look, the idea is that with each metal that's in the burger, it interacts differently with the taste buds within the protein, and it'll change from protein to protein. So we'll try, a nickel burger, maybe another day it's like a cobalt burger, maybe an iron one. There's a small bit of proof for that now. So in the case of HIV protease, and it was fed some cobalt burgers here, and they loved it so much it actually chewed them, and it's sitting there in the mouth. That's a photograph taken using X-rays, and you can see the two burgers there in the mouth. And with our work, we took a cancer cell line and we forced a few burgers into it there. There's a nickel one, there's an iron one, and there's a cobalt one. And look, it liked the iron one best because it killed more of them, so that's it. And hopefully we'll get the recipe right. Thanks a million.
Thanks very much, Neville. Our next speaker is Sean Hennessy. Sean is doing his PhD with Alpha-RS as well. Sean is one catalytic solar diodes, a bright future.
That's very wonderful. So, hi everyone, my name is Sean, I'm a PhD student at NUI Galway, and today I'm going to talk about some of my work on catalytic solar diodes, a bright future. So, as today's a Centenary event, I'm going back 100 years myself. This fella here, Giacomo Luigi Camaccia, whose pronunciation I've absolutely butchered. This is his lab in 1912 on his roof, and he saw a future in the 21st century of light being the source of chemical reactions. He saw that in the future we'd run out of chemical uses of oil and petrol, etc. So he thought light was the best way to go. He was actually the first man to put a solar panel on his roof, and using a solar panel, he powered one light bulb in his lab, which we've obviously improved on a slight bit in the last 100 years. So why do we need to look at light? So as we all know, we have a lot of chemical industries in Ireland. result of that, we tend to produce a lot of chemical waste, and unfortunately, we tend to ignore what we do with that. We send it off to make people to get a juice out of it. And that ends up we think there is, otherwise we talk about it. So what we're looking at is a solar. And we're looking at producing chemical products which we can then sell ourselves or reuse in the lab. Now, most chemical solar reactors use a two-part system. So if you imagine the green part is a leaf, it absorbs the light, and the red part is the catalyst, or the thing that makes it actually do the stuff we want. But most things in the market have two things that are separate. Now, if these two things are separate, the teamwork isn't very good between them. But we're looking at introducing a bridge to form a dyad, so dyad being 2 from 1. So by introducing a bridge, we can make the teamwork between these two things work much better, and we show that we can improve the efficiency and stability of these systems much, much better. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much, John. Next speaker will be Liam Meany. Speaker's doing a PhD in chemistry. He's actually in my own group. Actually working in my own group, although his talk isn't necessarily about carbohydrates, it's about general chemistry.
Okay, thanks so much, Paul. So good evening everyone, my name's Vic, and I'm going to talk to you today about a topic called stereochemistry. Okay, so I'm going to start by introducing something called thalidomide. So I'm sure a lot of people know what that is, but just if you don't, it was a drug given to women in the 1960s to help treat morning sickness. So there was ultimately discovered that the babies that were born with birth defects. So there's a reason behind this, and that's how I'm going to introduce this topic. So part of the structure of the thalidomide is shown up here, and this going to draw your attention to this red bond here, this generic single bond. So this actually has an inherent property that allows it to exist in 2 different forms, shown down here. So just want you to think about these bonds here, this wedge and this dash in a 3-dimensional sense. So if you think that purple bit is this purple bit here, and you have your 2 oxygens in the ring here, and that purple bit should be coming out towards you like this. Whereas in the structure on the left here, it's actually going back into the board away from you. So it's actually this form that relieves your morning sickness, and this form that actually causes birth defects. So this is to do with something that chemists call chiral, but it's actually applicable to people in everyday life, in every second of every day. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. So chiral comes from the Greek word to do with your hands. So if you open your hands out in front of you like this, if you try to cross them over each other, they don't fit. So that's the whole principle behind this. So things are non-superimposable. And then I like to call this like a chemical handshake. So I'll ask Liam here for his left hand. And see, they don't fit. Keep the right hand. So just in really simple terms, like this, Spider-Man here pointing at each other. They're the same, but they're different. Okay, so why is this important for people in all walks of life, not just chemists? So this compound here, naproxen, is an anti-inflammatory drug, and it's estimated last year that there's 11.5 million prescriptions in the US alone, so very commonly taken. So you see here we have another one of our red bonds, so that means that this red bond is either coming out towards you or back away from you, and actually one hand of this compound relieves your inflammation, but the other hand is toxic to your liver and can kill you. So it's quite important to take the right one. And this compound here, this is a carbohydrate for the day that's in it. 2-deoxyribose, and you just have to think of it as the D in DNA, which makes up all the cells in your body, your hair, your skin, your nails, everything. So it's well established that DNA is often double helix shape, but I just want you to think about that as a spiral staircase. So if you think your staircase is going in a clockwise direction, and then if your 2-deoxyribose is going clockwise, then they fit and they make your cells. But if this is going anti-clockwise, then it will all fall apart. So just one quick thing. So this is an orange, this is a lemon. I'm sure you've all seen these before. There's actually 2 different forms of the same compound again. That means oranges smell like oranges and lemons smell like lemons. So just to prove to you that it is in everyday life. So if you like a gin and tonic or anything like that. So if you like fruit or you like architecture, you know more about that in the next slide. So you all very much.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks very much. The next speaker is Liam Fitzgerald. And Liam is doing his PhD with Dr. Miriam Madu, School of Chemistry. And Liam is going to talk to us about room to improve architecture requirements in chemistry.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Liam Fitzgerald, and today I'm going to talk to you about an area of chemistry that's a bit like building an extension to your house. So firstly, I just want you to imagine that you're one of these two guys here at the top. You have a nicely house and you want to build an extension to it. So you first decide on what part of the house you want to build your extension. Then you throw up your scaffolding, you build your extension, you take your scaffolding down, and you're left with your nice house at the end for a nice big extension. So we can do this in chemistry too. So if we take our chemistry house up here at the top left, we can then add on some chemistry scaffolding, and this chemistry scaffolding will let us build an extension to our house at the point that we want. And we then take down our scaffolding, and we're left with a nice chemistry house with our extension on it. Sounds great. But there's a problem with this. The problem with this is that the scaffolding is so tightly bound to the house that when we try to take it off, the whole house comes down. So can we fix this problem? And we hope so. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop scaffolding that builds the house just as well, but will come off in much milder conditions. And the whole point of this is that we can make drugs in less depth and make them more efficient, and we can also access new drugs for new targets in the future. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Liam. The next speaker is Sam. For us, Sam is doing his PhD in Professor Olivia Thomas Group in the Marine Biodiscovery Group at NUI Galway. And Sam is going to talk about Ireland's deep sea pharmacy.
Okay, so as Paul said, my name is Sam Ashton, and the title of my thesis is Ireland's deep sea pharmacy. With the rise of antibiotic-resistant bugs, as well as increased rates of cancers, humanity is struggling to find solutions to its ever-evolving medical needs. A perfect example of this is a rise in the increased rate of infections by antibiotic-resistant bacteria, while the number of new antibiotics being discovered is decreasing year after year. If this trend continues, we can easily end up in a post-antibiotic era, where a simple scrape on your knee could lead to a lethal infection. So to combat this, we turn to Mother Nature for help. Over 60% of the medicines we use today are derived from natural products, including plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria. Our research for the medicines of the future has led us to explore the deepest, darkest parts of our oceans, where Ireland's richest biodiversity is kept secret. It's here, 2 kilometres below the surface of the ocean, with incredibly extreme environmental conditions that cold water coral reefs thrive. And when I say extreme conditions, I really mean extreme conditions. There's a complete absence of sunlight. The water temperature is 4 degrees Celsius, that's the same temperature as your frigid home, and there's extremely low levels of oxygen. But they're not the most harsh of conditions. The thing that's really difficult about the deep sea is the pressure. So at 2 kilometres deep depth, the pressure is the equivalent of having 20 elephants on top of your head. And even with these incredibly harsh conditions, cold water coral reefs are some of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world, rivaling that of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia and the Amazonian rainforest. And with this incredible biodiversity comes incredible competition. Our aim is, this competition results in chemical warfare between organisms, and our aim is to isolate the chemical weapons that these organisms are using. So the perfect example of this is this 2-meter tall sponge that we found at a depth of 1.2 kilometers. If you look carefully at the surface of the sponge, you can see small little yellow dots. Each of those little yellow dots is a coral, and these corals growing on the sponge negatively affect the sponge. So in response, the sponge, as well as its microbiome, produce toxins to try to kill the coral, and the coral responds in kind by producing its own toxins to try to kill the sponge. These compounds could one day be developed into new cancer therapies and new antibiotics. The incredible biodiversity that the deep sea has results in high levels of competition. These high levels of competition have created this fantastic library of natural compounds which can be developed into medicines of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. The next speaker is Sid Byrne. Sid is in my own group as well. Sid is going to tell us about glycomimetics, the sweetest medicines.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Paul. So, my talk today is on glycomimetics, and first of all, I'd like to just draw your attention to this article here published in the Irish Times about 2 weeks ago. Here, they talk about the World Health Organization warning that diseases like Ebola and the flu are becoming increasingly hard to manage, and that the possibility of a global pandemic is a very real threat, especially in those in poor regions of the globe, whereby national health systems will simply collapse if an outbreak were to occur. Well, how is it that we become affected? What's behind it, and what can we do about it? At this point, I'd like to catch your mind back to your junior set of science, and I'd like to picture a cell in mind. I hope that you have something like this in mind, with all the good stuff here in the middle and a nice silky smooth surface on the outside, very much like this apple right here. As biotechnology and microscopes have evolved over the last couple of decades, we now know that it does not resemble an apple, but more so like a peach or a kiwi, where they have this fuzzy layer that completely surrounds the cell surface. This fuzzy layer is made up of millions of carbohydrates of different shapes and sizes, depicted here in this cartoon. Well, why is this important? Well, viruses have proteins on their surface, and building on what Neville said earlier, the proteins on these surfaces have more of a sweeter to it, and they like to look at these carbohydrates. So what happens is that the virus enters our airways and travels down our throat into our lungs, and like Velcro, the viruses attach themselves on to the cell surfaces in our throat and in our lungs via these carbohydrate receptor site interactions. What we're trying to do is develop a series of drugs whereby the drug binds better to the protein instead of the carbohydrates on our cell surface. Why is this important? If we look at this diagram here, on the left we can see that without the drug, the anti-adhesive, that the virus can readily bind to our cells, and from there they can cause infection and leave some risk fever and sore throat. On the right, however, with the presence of the drugs, the virus can no longer attach itself to our cells, and from there then it can basically pass through our system. So essentially, then if the virus can't sick, it can't make us sick. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sid. So all our speakers so far from NUI Galway. Our final speaker is from NIBRT, National Institute of Bioprocessing Research and Technology, I think, probably UCD. And it's Hayden Wilkinson. And Hayden is going to talk about old Glycan, where art thou?
What does the Russian space station, a microwave, Parkinson's disease, and a lollipop have in common? Absolutely nothing. Thank you very much. Have a good night. No. Scientists are particularly persistent and will find meaning where there is none. In just a few minutes, I'll show you how my research and the study of glycobiology has stitched together these 4 seemingly very different things in order to confront one of the biggest health problems affecting people. And it all starts with the lollipop. Or more specifically, the glucose in lollipops. See, glucose is one of the many useful sugars within our body which help our cells and proteins talk to each other. These sugars hold hands and stick out of our proteins like spines on a porcupine. And we call these sugar chains glycans. In fact, these glycans are so important to the correct functioning of our cells, that if they don't hold hands with the right partners, disaster can strike. By comparing our little glycan buddies between healthy and diseased cells, like the cells found in the brains of people with Parkinson's disease, we can identify biomarkers or specific glycan patterns associated with disease. Unfortunately, and also, by knowing this knowledge of the patterns, we can help develop glyco-implants or glycomimetics, which will seek to bind to these degenerated sites, and they'll mimic a healthy glyco environment to help rebirth life into the damaged cells. Unfortunately, for a while, we had no idea how to go about finding our little glycan buddies, extracting them, and being able to analyze them. And one big answer came from space. Aboard the Russian space station Mir in 2003, an enzyme was found in a pool of condensed water, and it was this enzyme that first let us effectively take our glycans from our proteins so that we could analyze them. Unfortunately, though, glycans are very resilient, and this didn't work for all of our glycans, and that's where my research comes in. I look at those stubborn little glycans called O-glycans, ironically. And I subject them to chemical methods, but also to a microwave. Much like you put popcorn in a microwave, wait a few minutes, and then you get delicious, delicious popcorn, I put my Parkinsonian brain proteins in the microwave, wait a few minutes, and my O-glycans are released, the lost glycans that I couldn't find. So while I'm still working on this method at the moment, hopefully it provides an insight to the entire glycan population of our Parkinson brains to help find a cure. And really, that's the point of science. It's not about answers, it's about finding all the answers. It's about being able to stitch things together for the greater good, to find a cure. So I ask again, what does the Russian space station, a microwave, Parkinson's disease, and a lollipop have in common? Well, absolutely everything. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Aidan.
I just want to say I was first in the chemistry lab here. I was 3, introduced to the wonders of chemistry. My grandfather made no difference between age, gender, or anything else. He had his own, our chemistry, our Shakespeare, tiny tots. He would be deeply jealous of us here today. He was struggling with his antilates and carbohydrates in a dingy, dark lab with a couple of Bunsen burners, a bit of helium gas, and this is wonderful. You guys are great, and you're all terrific futures. Don't go into the big business, keep doing proper chemistry.
Thanks very much, Barbara. Thanks a million. Now we're moving on to a big difference. So one of the things I suppose that when we had this idea about having this symposium, I wasn't really expecting the level of engagement we've had with the Dillon family. And that's been hugely positive, and really delighted about that. That so many are here, and you're so working, doing the right work. Really thrilled about that, and thrilled about what came out of that. So delighted that Joe made contact with Anna, and really thrilled about that she's working with Rich later. But equally thrilled about the ballet and Esther's contribution. And we got some notes. I don't know if Esther reminds if I read out, the origins of this. So Esther says, my grandfather Thomas Dillon was a man of humour and had many interests apart from his work, and in particular a love for music and languages. And after he retired, he came to live with us in Dublin, where my grandmother Geraldine was also living. And my sister's honours piano was in the dining room, and in the evening she would practice and play there with her musician friends. My grandfather also used the room as his personal study, and he loved working to be accompanying music. And at that time, I was a principal dancer with the Dublin National Ballet, and with the encouragement of the director of Fisher Ryan, I choreographed 2 ballets for the company. One day, my grandfather, Professor Thomas Dillon, came out of the dining room with a typing sheet with the words, "I've written a ballet for you." So it was based on Kekulae's fireside dream of a snake eating itself, which inspired his famous structure of the benzene ring. This is really well known in chemistry, Kekulae's proposal for the structure of benzene and the apparent dream that he had about a snake eating its tail. So, as Esther was fully occupied as a dancer and teacher with the National Ballet at the time, she was performing twice weekly on RTE. She didn't have the chance to do anything further with it. And she eventually moved to Rome and never came back. As she says herself, she fell in love there more than just with Rome, and she had her family there for, as she says, her wonderful daughters. And now she's still in Rome with 7 grandchildren. So Honor contacted her and they said, "Is it time to do the ballet?" So I think they brought the proposal to us and we said we'll try and make it happen if we can. And I think Esther's living in Rome, but she's been here for the last number of weeks, as I understand it, in Dublin, and coming down at the weekend to work with the Youth Ballet West to choreograph the ballet. So Youth Ballet West are a non-profit making organisation, offering young dancers in the west of Ireland the opportunity to audition and perform in professionally choreographed ballets of the highest standard. So they seek to introduce ballet to diverse audiences, and certainly I think this is a diverse audience. Our scientists, well, not all scientists, but certainly a good number. And they are working with Macnas now, and also they've collaborated with Balboa and Galway Institute of Technology, the Candy Sharp Dance Ensemble, the Chrysalis Dance and Choral Dance Academy. And we should acknowledge their artistic director, Judith Sibley, who's been working with Esther, and also Andrew O'Donnell, who's been helping with sound and technical advice. So, Esther wants to say special thanks to the following people without whom the performance wouldn't have been possible: her family and her friend and colleague Stephen Brennan of Ballet Ireland, Doctors John and Dilna O'Donnell, who were in Galway the last few weeks, and Donal and Paula of Broadcom for their kind hospitality. So, Kekulae, Stephen, everybody knows about Stephen Hawking, he's a theoretical physicist. You never hear too much about theoretical chemists, but Kekulae was considered to be a theoretical chemist, thinking about structures and such. So from that point of view, I think it's time to start and to give the ballet group the floor. teachers and all the people that are involved and their parents and Esther for all the effort that you put in. Really appreciate it. Okay, so next we invite Honor O'Brien to come and give a presentation. Honor is Thomas Dillon's granddaughter as well. And Honor gave us some notes. So Honor had a first life as a musician, teaching and examining mainly in the College of Music, the Royal Irish Academy of Music, and Alexander. Sepulchre and the consort of Leon's. And our second life was as a historian, mainly on the maternal side of the family, the Plunketts, the Dillons, and the Crannies. And based on this, she edited All in the Blood. So that's published by A&A Farmer in 2006. That's Geraldine Plunkett's Dillon's extensive memoir material. And she was commissioned by O'Brien Press to write a biography of the 1916 signatory Joseph Plunkett for their series 16 Lives, 2012. And Anna has given many talks in Dublin and around Ireland in connection with these topics. As we know, Thomas Dillon was involved with the national movement as one side of his character. So Anna's going to give us a lecture about Thomas Dillon, the remarkable Thomas P. Dillon, chemist, professor, and revolutionary.
It's an amazing day, it's a brilliant idea, and I never thought we'd get to this point where we would be so aware of what Tom Dillon had done. And I learned an enormous amount by doing it. I have to go to hand now because I suffered from an excessive material. So I have to keep moving along as fast as I can. If you want to ask me anything afterwards, you're more than welcome. And if you want to challenge my facts, you're more than welcome. But I'll go on with what I have. So I had to call it the remarkable Thomas Dillon because I came across so many people who referred to him as that in obituaries, in students' accounts, in all sorts of places. He's regarded as remarkable. And I won't even be able to enlighten you properly in chemistry terms what that meant, but you can get a glimpse of it. And of course, chemist, professor, and revolutionary was not how I thought him. I thought him as a conservative finigator, but he was anything but. Just a little bit about his background. He was born in Enniscrone in County Sligo, but he was as much a Sligo man as I'm a Galway person. They moved immediately to Ballina in County Mayo, and I suspect it's because his father was the engineer in charge of the Ballina waterworks, and they were finished in 1884. It took about 5 years. At that stage, the waterworks enabled something like 500 houses in Ballina to have water. So I think that was probably the incentive. And they lived in number 7 Dillon Terrace. Now I don't know whether the numbering is still the same, and I don't know which is which. The Dillon Terrace is a lovely early 19th century terrace with beautiful 3-story elements behind and a courtyard and so on. Beautiful place to live. And Lochroning is just where the waterworks came from. This is a little bit about the background in people terms, but I'm not going to tell you about everybody. But his great-grandfather Luke came into Balladreen. I think he had been working for the Earl of Roscommon, who was a Dillon, of course, and he suddenly found that he couldn't afford to lease a piece of land that he had anymore. So he came into Balladreen with his wife and Blake, and that's where you get Blake Dillon from. So there, they had 7 children, 1 of whom died, and 4 of whom are very important in various terms. Thomas was the eldest, and he set up a shop in Balladreen, and I'll come back to all the important elements here in a moment. But when you come down the line, you come to Dillon himself, Tom Dillon. His eldest brother, William, was a solicitor. His sister, Kathleen, was one of the first medical graduates in the country and worked in the mental hospital in Mullingar, mental hospital in Mullingar, most of her life. Jack was a bank manager in Carlow, and Andrew did strange bits and pieces until he decided he was the manager of the Dunamer Guild. So John Blake was called after his uncle, John Blake Dillon, who was the famous one. And John Blake II was the engineer, as I say, in charge of waterworks, and he married Elizabeth Sullivan, and that is an important element as well. In Balladreen, Thomas, the eldest of those, set up a small shop and post office. And before he died, he made it over to his sister Monica, who had married Joe Duff. And Duff actually died, I think, quite young. Monica made the shop, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it actually became the biggest shop in Connacht in its time, and it sold just everything. Don't try and read all the stuff up there, but that is everything they sold, and more besides. Everything from tools, garments, and clothes, and anything you name it, beer, whiskey. And this is the Dillon House, which is still there in Balladreen. Beautiful house, and it's now the library and county meeting rooms and so on. A gorgeous house, done up, I think, more in the 19th century. And then her shop started beside the house and works its way down. Her daughter Anne was married a Oxford solicitor, and he died quite young as well. His name was Dean, and Anne Dean took over the shop from her mother. And her mother didn't want her to take it over, and not because she had a low opinion of her, quite the contrary, she wanted her to continue her education. And I'll just tell you a little bit more about her in a moment. But up on the left is Elizabeth Sullivan. Now this would be grand-uncle of Tom Dillon's mother, so a grand-uncle of Tom Dillon's. And John Pope Hennessy was on the colonial side. He was actually one of the first Irish to join the English Conservative Party in the 1860s, and was then made colonial governor, which is governor of various places, which is very establishment. But he was an interesting colonial governor. He was in Gabon, he was in Hong Kong, he was in Mauritius, and he was in the Gold Coast. And everywhere he went, he did things like abolishing flogging, changing prison conditions, bringing more education, and in the case of Hong Kong, an interesting one, allowing the local Hong Kong people to have businesses on of course, was being kept for the colonial government. So he actually did change things quite a lot in the various places where he was governor. John Blake Dillon, you probably have heard of. He was very important to Young Irelanders. Young Irelanders had a new attitude after O'Connell had achieved so much, but they wanted land reform particularly, and they wanted to work towards independence. And he and Charles Gavin Duffy and, of course, Thomas Davis brought out the newspaper The Nation, which sold out on its first day 12,000 copies. And in that, John Blake Dillon wrote something like 52 or 53 articles before he died prematurely in 1866 on cholera. And son was John Dillon, who was the deputy head of the Irish Parliamentary Party, very, very important man, madly anti-women. He was a real, genuine misogynist, but very bright. And largely responsible for the foundation of the national universities. Up in the far corner, you've got Valentine Dillon, who was Parnell's solicitor and Lord Mayor of Dublin. And in the centre, this guy is just a reminder to me that his name is Wilfred Scowen Blunt. And he's just there as an asset because he came to Ireland of his own accord to see what was going on here. And in the course of it, he came to Dillon House in Ballyfree. He was sent there by Michael Datt. And he spent a day talking to Anne Dean. And he said it was the most interesting day he had in Ireland. So she was a most extraordinary person. And she was the first and only president of the Ladies' Land League. You usually find Anna Parnell mentioned, but Anne Dean was actually the official president. She had to keep going back and forth with her business, so a lot of what was done by Anna Parnell. And the Ladies' Land League, you'd be surprised to hear, were more radical than the Land League which Parnell run. So, thanks to Anne Dean, who not only made a huge success of the shop, became very wealthy, took in John Dillon when his father died, made sure that he had enough money to marry on, which was a mere £30,000. But she also took in Tom Dillon for 2 years while he went to St. Mary's in Ballyfree. Both St. Mary's and the local diocesan school were in very poor condition. Very often, the young fellows were in with no teachers at all because there was no provision for anything. So he went to live with Anne Dean, and she then provided him with the fees for Commodores. And of course, that made a big difference. He was only there for 2 years, and because his education had been poor, they put him in a B class, so to speak. But he surprised the life out of them by getting a scholarship to Cork, to the Royal University, as it was then. In this group, he's here in front on the left, and I'm pretty certain that in that group is also photographed, and I don't know, Roy O'Connor, who I think was in this class, and Paddy Little, extraordinary people who had a tremendous effect on nationalism later on. I just don't have a proper list for the This is just to give you an outline of the progress of universities and the way in which it all happened. I mean, obviously Trinity was there at the beginning and very Elizabethan and very sort of related to Oxford and Cambridge. And they did allow Catholics in 1794, but on a limited basis. You had to pledge your money for your fees, and at that time in Oxford and Cambridge, you had to swear to the 39 articles of the Church of England. I don't know whether Trinity had a similar thing going on, but it wasn't that easy to get in as a Catholic. They went on from there to Maynooth was a kind of a sop to the bishops because the British government were trying to get the Act of Union passed. So in order to keep the bishops quiet, they gave them Maynooth as a university, but just for clergy. And after that, the Queen's Colleges were started. The Queen's Colleges seem to be very lively, very interesting. And in fact, the quad here is the Queen's College. That's the original building, the one that's covered with scaffolding now. And they have real people trying to do real things in them, but they were tending towards being Protestant universities. And the Catholic bishops were getting upset again. It's usually not all bishops, usually the noisy ones who have this effect on them. But they thought that the young Catholic men were being corrupted. So they started the Catholic University with Newman. That is John Cardinal Henry Newman, was just about to be a saint. And he was in fact an extraordinary man, tremendous vision of what the university should be like, and how the students should have independence and plenty of opportunity for their own ideas. But the bishops still weren't happy with that, so he left after 4 years. And they tried to keep it going, not very well, for a long time. In the meantime, College of Science was starting Stephen's Green, where the Board of Works building is now number 51. For science and industry, and it was a real attempt to look at the relationship between science and industry and the way in which science would benefit industry. There was plenty in engineering at the time, but other science subjects were not being very well served or very well taught. So after the College of Science, you get this is the Catholic University was brought in. Now, this was obviously intended as a suppressive, unpleasant move because the Royal University was only an examining body. Very little authority, very little funding, and the lecturers and professors were appointed more by Dublin Castle than they were by any academic body. So they were rather deteriorating institutions and not very pleasant to work with, I think. At last, 1908, the Universities Act, and this is thanks to the Irish Parliamentary Party, it was the one really great thing they did was the Universities Act, and it opened in 1909. These two guys are just important in their relationship to the development of the university. When Kane and Sullivan were both chemists, and they were individually and jointly responsible for tremendous movement and improvement in university teaching. Kane was the dean of the university, on Stephen's Green Science and Industry, and then he became the first president of Queen's College Cork. And he had brought William K. Sullivan, who was Dillon's grandfather, in with him, and William K. Sullivan was the second president of Queen's College Cork. Then, of course, that all went to the new Royal Colleges. Now, Tom Dillon finds himself with a scholarship to a half-existent university. He thought it was going to be a great place because his mother had stayed there with his grandfather, William K. Sullivan, and thought it was lively and interesting. But now it was half dead. So when he got there, he didn't really know what to do. He was only 16, and he had a scholarship, and he had gold guineas in his pocket for his other fees. You paid your lecturers and professors directly at the time, which seems extraordinary. And he couldn't decide what to do, so he thought about doing medicine. In order to do medicine, he would have to do a year of arts first anyway. So he started on classics, and he was doing Latin with a loony Latin teacher who writes very amusingly about it. And during the year, he thought he'd go to everything and see what he'd walk in and out of lectures and find out what he wanted to do. And during the year, he went into a lecture, chemistry lecture by Augustus Dixon. Dixon was like a grandson of Justus von Liebig, who is the originator of the idea that students would be involved in the experiments and what went on in the laboratory rather than just sitting in seats like you and watching things being done. And the medical students were beginning to have the same thing, that they were now allowed to experiment and to operate on bodies rather than just watch somebody else do it. So von Liebig had changed things an awful lot. Gießen in Germany, and a student of his, Hoffmann, came to London, and Dixon came across him there. So Dixon now had a different kind of attitude to most of the professors of chemistry at the time. Chemistry was still really an arts student, an arts subject. It wasn't science having been separated out in the same kind of way. It certainly wasn't being developed in the same kind of way. Dillon says about Dixon's lectures is usually when you hear about first year, particularly at this time, they talk about the medicals and the engineering students and the clerical students running riot around the lecture rooms and creating a huge amount of noise during the lecture. And Dillon says about Dixon that his lectures, it was always quiet and all his experiments worked. So he was hooked. And that was it for life for him. That was a huge debt. Dixon had in fact been in Galway for 2 years, again under the Royal University scheme, and then to Cork. So Dillon did his MSc in Cork, came up to Dublin, and was asked by Hugh Ryan, who was professor of chemistry in the Catholic University and in the medical school down in Temple Bar, Cecilia Street. I've covered up the name of the shop. That's what it is now. It's a clothes shop. And it was a tiny place, the medical school. It was so small that Ryan, who was a very well-known researcher and very much admired as a researcher, had to put everything away every time the students came in for a lecture. So it was not like having a lab to work in. This is still before the National University had started. But Dillon and various other people worked with him until there was only something like 2 or 3 doctorates. Now there's several of them here, but Clongowes claimed 2 of them. I said there were only 2. One of them was Father Timothy Corcoran, who had actually taught Dillon in Clongowes. And there was another teacher in Clongowes who had set him off on the idea of Shakespeare, which he was addicted Ryan taught medical school, and this was the beginning of something else altogether. 1909 was the first year of actual lectures and so on, and Geraldine Plunkett was one of many who went in the doors, and like many, she had done the exams in the Royal University system by going to actually one of the Ryan sisters, who were amazing people to change history. She went to her in Loretto Green, and she organised that she would learn everything she needed for her trip into the university, and she got her place. So the women all got in that way. In this list, I have a question mark on Everett, but I think that second man might be George Everett, who was very important with Tom Dillon, as were a lot of these people. Coonan became a Jesuit, and Hugh Ryan was there on the right, the professor, and then in the centre you've got in front Tom Dillon and Geraldine Plunkett with in between them. But Poland also was very friendly. A lot of these people were very close, as you can imagine. So Tom Dillon and Geraldine Plunkett got engaged in 1912, and she just says, and now we were engaged, she doesn't say anything about it. She doesn't really tell you anything about how she felt, despite the enormous amount she wrote. But she had fallen in love with chemistry, thanks to him. And she was trying to do a chemical degree. She'd gone in to do a medical degree and had the same kind of experience. Went into one of his lectures and said, that's it, chemistry is what I want. And she got appendicitis and couldn't do her exams. And Hugh Ryan told her that if she came in at all or did any exam, he would give it to her, and she was absolutely fine. She never got back to it thanks to a certain major event in art history. In the meantime, Geraldine Plunkett and her brother Joseph Plunkett had moved to a house in Malta Road. She, in fact, was nursing him and actually was his aide-de-camp, and there was now the build-up, volunteers had started, all sorts of things had started. He was now editing the Irish Review. So people who went in and out of that door would have included, for instance, Roger Casement, Corey Pearce, I think James Conley was in, unless he did all of it by that, but I think he was there. MacDonald, and all sorts of people like that. And literary people, including, and even I think Horace Plunkett and some of those people. So it was very interesting. This was just in order to produce articles. And the Irish Theatre was also being started by Joe and MacDonald at the time. And Tom Dillon was in and out of the house all the time. It was one of those places where people went. Now, this is just to give you an idea of these are quality young men. The YIBS are the Young Ireland branch of the United Irish League, which was the party machine for the Irish Parliamentary Party, which again appeared as though it was a very conservative party. But if you went in, as these people did, to work their way into politics and be very serious about it, if you disagreed with the chair, you were taken out and beaten up. So Joe Plunkett, for one, thought that wasn't a very good system. Keppel stayed on and tried to keep things going. Francis Steffington, of course, was quite extraordinary and was subject to abuse a lot of the time because he had so many good ideas. Roy O'Connor was another one who was in there. There were quite a few of that quality. When you come to 1913, I've used this slide in every talk I've ever given because it was a moment that changed everything. It changed the attitude of the leaders of the 1916 Rising. It changed people who were conservative, who were not interested in workers, who didn't care about what they earned. And they began to see their earnings printed in the paper, and then they saw photographs like this where they were being beaten up, and they learned about the conditions that just changed people's minds altogether. And Tom Kettle, who was an extraordinary man, set up a peace committee with the intention of trying to have negotiation between the employers and the employees, the workers. The employers, of course, wouldn't come, except for one man, William Field, who came along to see what he could do. And they went all over the place. Now, of course, because of this big strike, there was no transport, so they had no way of getting around. And Keppel asked Tom Dillon, would he be the secretary of this peace committee? People were always asking him to do things, and I don't know quite why, but he asked him to do all sorts of different things, and this was one of them. And he asked Joe Plunkett, would he be his assistant, so that they could go around on Joe's motorbike. And the At this stage, they all moved out to Larkfield. Plunkett's had a piece of land, the mother had bought a piece of land, and she'd gone off to the States to have an extended holiday. So the Plunkett's kept assembling at Larkfield, and I won't go into the whole story of Larkfield because it's so big. But it did mean, and again, that Tom Dillon was there with Rory O'Connor. They were setting up a chemistry business. They wanted to make aspirin and small pharmaceutical elements like that on a tar still which they had brought from Glasgow, but it never worked properly, sadly. They thought that was deliberate. The Count Plunkett was living there. He was now director of the museum. The chicken represents the fact that there was a huge flood, and he had to mind the chickens in the kitchen because they all had to be brought in. And the young fellows all arrived from London, Manchester, Liverpool, and so on to do what they could with the Rising. So now, Dillon had become, James asked to do it, the explosives advisor for the Rising, and Rory O'Connor was the engineering advisor for the Rising. And there was now the possibility that they would get married and do something about it. She says they had to get married because she knew that the whole world was going to change after the Rising. It's a good reason, isn't it? It was supposed to be a double wedding with Joe Plunkett and Grace Gifford, but Joe Plunkett was busy on that day because of the countermanding order, so he had to spend the day at meetings, and of course they was wedding in the jail instead afterwards. So Tom and Jerry got married in Rathmines Church, where the G-men, the special branch men, tried to push their way in and they were shoved out. And then they were told by Joe that they were to go and stay in the Imperial Hotel in O'Connell Street. If you look at this is a postcard. You can see the portico of the GPO, and that's the Imperial Hotel. And that's where they were, on the second floor. So they were watching everything beginning. They were watching the men coming up from Abbey Street, and they were sitting at an open window. And they were there, that was from Easter Sunday. They were there on Easter Monday. Things began to happen, and Rory O'Connor came across with the message that they were to go home. So they put small bags on the backs of their bicycles and cycled home, and the rest of their stuff was burned in the firing of the hotel. In that time, it's very hard to imagine this kind of thing, but in these next few years, everybody was jailed. Joe obviously was executed. They lost friends, they lost relations, they lost each other a lot of the time, and sometimes they were all in jail at the same time. Certainly, everybody there except Lily, I think, was in jail in 1916. Maybe Fina wasn't, and then they were jailed afterwards. Went on like that, and never easy, you might say. So after the Rising, one of the things was that you wouldn't know what might happen then, whether the reactions of the public would be good or bad. The reaction was extraordinary. And again, Tom Dillon, somebody called the door, asked to see him and said, what were they going to do? What did he advise them to do about a fund for the defendants of prisoners? And he advised them to get as many parliamentary party people on the committee as possible so that the money wouldn't be frozen, because he thought it quite likely it would be confiscated or frozen. At the same time, Kathleen Clark, Tom Clark's widow, was starting a fund. She had £3,000 that Tom Clark had left her for this purpose. So in the end, the two organisations got together, and over those years, over 130,000 was collected in the country. That's a huge amount of money in the country at the time. And actually, our O'Brien grandparents were doing the same thing. They were out collecting, so they were never refused, and the generosity of people was extraordinary. Now, when you get to 1917, it's actually Count Plunkett's election that gives the flavour of change, if you like, thanks to the extraordinary brilliance of Father Michael O'Flanagan. He organises Plunkett's election in Roscommon in January, February of 1917. Plunkett has to come home from prison to do it, or come home from exile. He's in Oxford in exile. And he gets a landslide vote, and things start to move along. So a few months later, in Longford, they have the election of Joe McGuinness, who is still in jail. In fact, he's in jail with Jack and George Plunkett. people coming from Dublin and from all over the country to work on the elections. They just got up on the trains, they got on the bicycles, some of them got cars, and they went to wherever the venue was and they helped and did extraordinary work. This is only a few of them. There are lots more, and in fact there are wonderful witness statements on this. Collins, of course, had been Joe Duncan's aide home in the Rising. Michael Stainston, very good source. Arthur Griffith was in a funny position. He was just being released from jail, and his organisation was called Sinn Féin, but it envisaged a King, Lords and Commons with affiliation to the English King. So he wasn't really a Republican per se, but the name of the organisation had been hijacked by the British during the Rising, so they started referring to them as Chinners and Sinn Féiners, and people thought, oh, that must be the organisation, and off they went and joined after the Rising, and they joined Sinn Féin in their thousands, and Griffith was left in a very strange position. Tom Dillon came to the Roscommon election to help his father-in-law, Karen Conlon, get elected, but he had to go away again before the election because Conor Brewis summoned him. He wanted to know something about explosives. And I'm not sure if it was that. I know there are chemical relatives who write story here occasionally that Dillon walked into a place in Wexford. There was a boys' school where they were making explosives. And he walked in and he looked around, and I couldn't make an explosive to save my skin. But he looked at me and knew immediately they were doing it back to front. He said, gentlemen, you all just stand up and walk out. Starting then. So, but he did work on the other elections as a number of these people. It was now coming to the stage where the important thing was to have a unified body, some organisation that was represented the country, that could stand for elections, that could be legitimately called something. Count Plunkett had started Liberty clubs, and as I say, Sinn Féin was there as another element. So Count Plunkett had a convention in the Mansion House to which everyone, unionists and all, were invited. Unionists didn't come, but they were invited. Everybody else came along, and Dillon comments that he noticed that the leaders were fighting with each other on the platform, and their followers were coming up and saying, look, we don't want anybody fighting. That's not what we want just now. Dillon's comments on these things are terrific. He wrote a number of articles for the University Review, and he wrote for other journals. He wrote for Cork University Press. He wrote quite an amount of stuff, and a wonderful one in the Caption Annual of 1967, which is about this period. So he was secretary of Sinn Féin. Now, again, being asked, will you do this? Of course I will. And he said he organised a meeting in Conor Brewer's house. Conor Brewer had been so badly shot in the Rising that the authorities hadn't executed him because they assumed he would die. And he could hardly move with all his bullet wounds. He was absolutely full of them. But in his house in Upper Rathmines they met. And it was more than just Dillon and Griffith. Plunkett, Collins, Rory O'Connor, and a few more were there. And the idea was to make some agreement. And Dillon says he realised it was coming up to time, the last tram, and something had to be decided. There was a lot of arguing. And Brewer said to him, well, what do you think? And he said, well, the choice is to have a new organisation or to ask Griffith to allow us to take over Sinn Féin. And Griffith said, well, okay, but I have to get my committee to agree to it. So they agreed to kind of shunting agreement. So that meant now that the new organisation was much more like a countrywide full organisation, now called Sinn Féin or New Sinn Féin, whatever you like. In the election in August in 1917, again, Dillon was asked to intervene because Kilkenny wanted to put up MacNeill as a candidate, and MacNeill's interference in the Rising had nearly wrecked completely. It had wrecked mostly. So there were a lot of people who were not keen on him at all. And Dillon went out to see him in Rathfarnham to see if he would withdraw. And when he got there, he met his brother. He says that his brother Jamie said, it's all right, MacNeill he's not going to stand. So they put up Cosgrave instead. Of course, Cosgrave was the first leader of the Conor government. So this was the August 1970 election. And Rachel has kindly agreed to read a poem. And this was written by Geraldine Plunkett, Tom Dillon's wife, while he was over in Kilkenny.
Okay, you can see it up there on the screen, but other asked me to read this very moment. While you are in Kilkenny town, I see your grace in every tree. Your hair is as the beeches brown. The birches have your bravery. Your strength in mountain oaks I find. Eagles in this have built their nest. With supple sally twigs you bind my willing heart unto your breast. Cypress and cedar spreading wide, under your peace my heart will sleep. O rowan tree that grows beside my pool of love, your roots drink deep.
Thank you very much. Now, people often use the term annus horribilis, but this has to be the case. 1918, I won't try and do it in order. They're living now on 13 Belgrade Road. The British government had cooked up a thing called a German plot, which turned out to be absolutely without foundation, in order to arrest, it was nearly 1,000 people, in order to keep them out of the way to bring in conscription in 1918. And that, of course, included Tom Dillon. And he knew, he'd heard that he was on the list, and he'd heard they were coming for him. When they arrived, they knocked on the door. She opened the door and she said the hall filled up with soldiers, which would be a terrifying sight. Dr. Kathleen Lynn, who was there to look after her because she was 8 months pregnant, actually 9 months pregnant, said, I'll leave you now. Oh, she went out the door, knowing she was on the list. And she went on the run in her Sunday best. That's how she used to do it. She was actually captured later and jailed, but they, extraordinary, Lord Mayor Dublin released her to treat some of the victims of the 1918 flu because it was getting out of hand. It was very bright about it. Count Plunkett was also jailed. He was sent off to Birmingham, and Geraldine was now producing her second daughter. The other one was born, Moya was born in 1917, and Laura was born in 1918, 3 weeks after her father went off to Gloucester to jail. And 3 weeks later, more or less, his mother died, and she'd been living with him. And a couple of months later, Geraldine's grandfather, Pat Plunkett, died. She says that the food was frightful, and she was terrified. There was 2 small children, and she was going to poison them. Things like sawdust in the bread and milk that was absolutely rancid and so on. It was a very nasty year, and I think very, very difficult. And of course, at the end of the year, there was the election. And this was a great election, when Sinn Féin won 73 of the 106 seats. A moment when the British should have said, okay, we need to do it. Obviously, we don't want to see that. But they didn't, sadly. Dillon was in jail in Gloucester for a session, and he particularly cut down with it because he learned chess from Arthur Griffith and he learned Irish from Pierce McCann. And towards the end of the year, Pierce McCann died of the flu, and the government reckoned they couldn't keep them in if they were all going to die of the flu. So they started letting him out. But he wasn't out in time for the first Dáil. And indeed, most of the others weren't either. Of the 73 elected, only 27 were there. And Count Plunkett, who led in the first Dáil and made the first speeches, and then handed over to Colin Brewer, he was only there because he was released from Birmingham because he was very ill. And he's continuing to be ill for the next 2 months afterwards. So these things all coloured what was happening. The first Dáil, I think, is one of, again, a very underestimated event. I think it's one of the most important moments in Irish history because it's people using imagination and intelligence and every possible connivance to do something right, and deserves a huge recognition. So Dillon got out in March. Geraldine actually went over to Gloucester, found them all in in the nursing home, or half of them in the nursing home. She made food for them. They were all delighted because they had to eat proper food for ages. And then they all got the word that they were going, and she went home with them on the train and on the boat and so on. And before that, though, she had seen the advertisement for the position in Galway. She did all the forms, the application forms. She went and got references from King Ryan and from Coffee in the college and all that stuff. So Dylan came home and she more or less handed him her coat and said, go off. You're called for an interview, and away he went. And in the interview, Cork wouldn't tell him, by the way, because they thought he was a socialist, which was terrible. But he, when he got there, the governing body weren't that keen on him at all. There were still sort of leftovers from Royal University and Queen's University. But the Senate, the University Senate, were very keen on him. They knew him well, and he got his position. And this is all the fun of setting up a chemistry department in a new town with 2 small children and finding a place to live and all that kind of thing. I won't talk much about Latin towns, but I'm going to tell you one story, which is they were living in College Road, 43 College Road, which Geraldine's mother had bought for her every time she gave her a house, but she only had 90 houses in London, in Dublin, your place. They, at one stage, they were with the ODs who were living, I think, also on College Road, and they could hear across the water, they could hear trouble. And then it was all very quiet, and Tom went off to the station at about 11, I think, at night, because you could get next day's paper. And the train came in. And there was a black and tan who'd gone mad. He'd been shooting bottles of shells and things all day in pubs. He was absolutely pissed. And he was obviously in real trouble. He looked as if he was going to start shooting into the crowd who were coming off the train. And various people jumped on him to stop him, and he fired a lot of shots into Mulroy and killed him. And somebody else shot him. It wasn't Mulroy, and it wasn't this guy, but the Blackmans became convinced that it was this guy. And Dylan, in the meantime, went back to ODs and told them all what had happened, and they thought better stay there because they never knew when they were targets, because they thought they might be known. And she put the children to bed and she opened the window, and you could hear, she said, first of all, it was all quiet, across Lochatolia, and then she could hear the lorries coming out, and then she could hear the shots. They shot him in the stomach 11 times, and she said she could hear him screaming all night long. And they put him up against a lamppost till he finished. When they eventually crawled back to the door of the house, and he died there at dawn. That was the kind of thing that happened. And they moved many, many times. They kept, any time there was a sign of trouble, they went next door, they went to the Griffin's house, they went to OD's, they went into Stella Mars, which is on Salt Hill. They went to all kinds of places. And for the small children, I don't think it did them the slightest bit of good. And it certainly didn't do these 2 adults any good. It was horrible times. Jerry was arrested in 1921 for carrying papers. People used to put papers in their letterbox, which were accounts of beatings and torture and so on that were going on in the jails in Galway. They didn't always know who put them in, but they had to take care of them. And then they would try and get them either to foreign journalists or to the Dáil propaganda machine. She was arrested for carrying these, and she was months in jail, but she kind of got a bit of crack out of it as usual. She was with very interesting people. And around the corner from where they were living next, which was on Montpellier Terrace, was Michael O'Malley's St. Bride's nursing home. And when there was a raid there, they were, oddly enough, the raid was by the RIC. All of these military and RIC people were doing all this stuff. And she was shouting out the window after she said she decided to do what they'd done in Belfast. She screamed murder out the window. And they slunk away, she said. And the black and tans came down from St. Bride's nursing home and said, can we help? And the black and tans lying in the streets at Father Griffin's funeral. Father Griffin was also shot. They were taken away, shot, buried in the bog in Varna, and the Varna men eventually found him, and he was given a big funeral. went and they arranged with the guy who was working in the county hall to leave papers sitting on the counter. The guy went off for his lunch, they all went in, they just took all the papers. Now this is people's records, so it means that now the authorities have no way of knowing who's who. And in the meantime, they were campaigning for him to be elected, and he was elected. In the 1921 election, everybody in Sinn Féin stood, and I think it's true with every constituency, obviously the northern ones were different, they didn't get in there, got in everywhere else uncontested. So Tom Dillon was elected for Galway. These are just some of the houses they lived in, and this is sort of coming at the end of this sort of stuff. That's a house in College Road, which is going back down to Lochatolia. Then Stella Maris Hostel is in there in the middle, and very often they moved all of them in there. Sometimes they put children in one house and themselves in another house, or sometimes the two adults would go to two different houses and the children in another. It was a rapidly existence, to say the least. They bought this beautiful house after things settled down in 1924, and they bought a beautiful house down in where we are now. And I think it's a nursery now. And beautiful place, lovely grounds, and then Dylan banked a man for a debt. He stood guarantor for a man for a debt. The man reneged on the debt, and Dylan had to pay it up. It was £100, and his salary had gone down and down and down. And once the Free State started, the salary for professors and lecturers was tiny. So they couldn't afford that, they couldn't afford the things. The bank manager wanted to give it to a friend anyway. So off they went to Barn Pier, and they lived in two cottages in Barn Pier for a couple of years. Later on, they were in Lennox Park, where they these cash council grants were to build a three-bedroom house. And my grandmother was very ingenious about these things, made it a 5-bedroom house, and put a sitting room in the garage, and she closed down the garage door when the inspector came around to see what they were up to. So now he was into something which was more settled and much more of what you know of. And these are only smidgens of information now about his professional career. They actually lived in the model school. One of their 14 houses was a model school, and it flooded all the time. There were sandbags all around the outside, and it was full of rats. But it was also the first year chemical lab that year. They eventually got a place in the college, and then later on moved back into the model school, which was well done up as a chemistry faculty, and the chemistry took over the whole of the school, and remained like that for quite a long time, I think. Vincent Barry was one of them. He was not a student of his, but came to Galway to work with them, and he worked with them for about 10 years. They produced a number of papers together, and Barry did a lot of work on cancer, and one of the things he has credit to is a cure for blank. The assistant in the department was actually appointed by Professor Senior, who was a very interesting, very good chemistry professor, and she was there from 1910 until 1942, which is a long time. And Maureen Gallagher has already been mentioned, and in fact they had great fun on the beaches of the Salt Hill. I was told that it was maybe at the end past the diving place, but I thought that they had to be somewhere further out in somewhere like Carner or one of those places. She had a very similar interest. She wasn't looking at adjuvants per se, but she, as a botanist, she had a very similar interest in the process of seaweed. These two, Ian Philbin was the earlier one, and worked with him. She was one of his very fine students in Galway, doing an awful lot of marvellous stuff. And she worked with Hygeia also as chemist during the war. And his whole concentration at this stage, the point about his research into adjuvants was that he was looking for a natural resource which Ireland could use. Ireland also sort of names a place which had no natural resource, meaning no coal and no oil. But he was trying to do really what his grandfather had done, which was to look at the country and see what you could find, which you could develop and use. And in the thing about adjuvants was that were used in ice cream, pudding and stuffing and all kinds of extraordinary things. So that was the direction he was going in. So Professor Philbin's view in the same direction. She was working with Hygeia during the war in order to see what could be developed from natural products in the country, because of course it was very difficult to get anything from anywhere else. Ethna Gaffney, again, very extraordinary career. She worked in all kinds of places, and when she became professor of chemistry in what do you call college? Surgeons, college surgeons. I've lost some stuff there. It was a matter of immense pride to him. He actually produced people, not only the first 2 women's presidents in Ireland, but his own successor and the next president of the college, and so on and so forth. I'm rushing now. This 1935 debate, we were going to do much more on this, and just in case, actually, this is the actual 1935 report by the actual 1935 newspaper, the Connacht Tribune, and just to impress you. In it, some of it is quite frivolous and some of it is quite stringent, but he's really trying to, he's trying to say, David Eyre made a speech the night before, and both speeches were reported almost entirely. So David Eyre is on for the Friday night and his for the Saturday night. And he was saying he loved Irish, he thought Irish was the way to go, but he didn't think it should be exclusively Irish. This is the way he was saying to Paul Pierce, who thought we should be a bilingual country. So he makes quite acid comments about not having Irish exclusively in Connemara or anywhere else. And he talks, interestingly enough, his feeling is at this stage, 1935, we're between, we have dominion states, we're part of the Commonwealth. We don't have independence, we don't have a republic. And for him, he says he would sooner have dominion states and be part of the Commonwealth than lose the 6 counties. He says, better that than partition. And a lot of people were still broken about partition. But there's also a nice ending which Joe said he would read. Professor Joe Byrne, to whom I'm very grateful.
So, this quote from Dillon.
Yes.
So, he said, I can think of no more likely way of amicably solving the difference between North and South than students of Belfast, Trinity College, and National University should visit one another at various university towns, see people as only students can see them, and exchange their views on political questions, and find out what is real and what is false. In this way, I can imagine a united Ireland rising and making, with its very graces and points of view, a wonderful contribution to the thoughts of the world.
Great, thank you very much. Now these are, as mentioned, Richard McCullough, who is succeeded him as Professor of Chemistry and was a student of his, and Professor Colin O'Huckan, who was the president here, chose him as his mentor in a column in the Irish Times. So this was his greatest teaching. And when you land on things like that, you realise this is an extraordinary other dimension. These were great friends, just a small selection of professorial friends, all of whom had very interesting aspects of their own. And Wesley Copper, who would be much younger, be 20 years younger, was responsible for giving him the doctorate from Trinity, an honorary doctorate. So I think he must have simply admired his work. He also organised that he would have a lab in Trinity to continue working in after he had retired, and some teaching hours. So he retired at 70. This is a photograph with just unnamed students. I think that is Finbar O'Callaghan, who I met recently, thanks to Dominic Coyle, with him, and it's the right kind of age mixture. And by now, he retires at 70. Thought he'd stay on in Galway and spend his nights in the county club, but that wasn't quite how it worked out. I think the fact that Trinity offered him an honorary doctorate straight away and lab and teaching stuff, and various other things started coming up that he could do. So now he's on the Galahad, and there he's meeting with Finbar at Cork. Finbar turned 90 just this year, and I think he would have been here if he could, but he couldn't. He also went to Cork to see his son-in-law, Cormac McCrellan, his husband. And they got stuck in Fitzgerald Park and couldn't get out because they got locked in. And Cormac wondered at the fact that Dylan was a bit awkward getting out, and then realised, well, he's 7. So this is just a quick word about Geraldine and where she got to. This herself with some of her children, including the baby is Rory, who died of encephalitis, and those are the first two children, Moya and Laura and Mike. And here she is, a fleet of grandchildren, including Barbara and Esther. And that's 1966 when she finally got a doctorate, but sadly not for chemistry. She got it for being Joe's sister. That's the sort of Maggie Pierce and Catherine Clark, all those people. They all got on their doctorates in 1966. This is just offspring, not just, because they're all extraordinary people. The 5 up at the top were Moya, Bláthnaid, Anish, Michael, and Owen. I was once in a room with all 5 of them, and I thought the room would burst. The size of their personalities was exceeded the wall space. Moya graduated as a doctor and went on for all kinds of stuff in her life, everything from counselling to creating quilts from impressionist paintings. Law qualified as a lawyer and ran the ballet school on Esther's behalf, more or less, and started practicing when she was in her 40s and became, I think, the first partner in Mechanical Sterling Road in Dublin, not Mechanical Sterling, but down in the Keys in the skyscraper. And many other things. She was very effective in changing the law for the sake of apartments and for certain wives. Anish, a very well-known novelist, and also a wonderful teenage adventure stories, and was certainly writing across her later life, wonderfully generous to young writers, particularly Michael Dillon, very famous journalist, and agricultural journalist, winning agricultural journalist of the year, and a marvellous experimental farmer, and one of the very great people in our lives. And Owen, who is there winning hotelier of the year. So they were quite. Owen managed the Shelburne and the Gresham and the London Tower. So So Bláthnaid marrying Owen O'Brien and Moya marrying Michael Dillon. They had a double wedding. And Anish marrying Cormac O'Brien and Michael Dillon marrying Nora Curran, who we've only just lost, and Owen, not quite marrying, but nearly marrying Nance Dillon. And their daughter is older than me today, said, I had some wonderful times with Dado, we all call him Dado. He wasn't a good father, absolutely not. He had no relationship with his children properly at all. Some of them didn't speak to him. And whether it was because the work interfered, because of the terrible times they grew up in, because of the constant stuff. At one stage when they were living in Spittle, he would get home for maybe 2 hours every few days. And so I think they lost connection with him and he didn't know what to do when he was there. But he turned into a terrific grandfather, learned it very quickly, and taught most of us chess. There was 4 of us in the house, and we were now a house with 8 people in it, but there are 16 more grandchildren. And most of us, I think, learned something from him. A lot of us learned chess, he read Shakespeare, he brought me to concerts, he loved music, and Fiat has a nice element to all that to do with it. And we are coming to the last slide now, so.
I was about 3 or 4 when my grandfather, Dado, moved in with us. I don't remember him not being there. I was probably the only male grandchild that ever lived with him, and maybe that was why we had such a bond, where he made sure that my scientific education was complete, comprehensively addressed. These are the presents that I treasured and still, and some of which I still have. Aneroid barometer that hangs by my desk, the Liebig condenser that gives me the opportunity to make strong drink. My first vernier caliper that has been replaced by an electronic tube, and my first spotting scope when I, at about 6, expressed an interest in the heavenly bodies. If it was a warm summer, he would ask me for a loan with a large mercury thermometer that was part of the distilling set, so that it would take the temperature of
appreciative calls to join the family for dinner, and he explained the importance of this event. We made a device for filling balloons with lighter than air gas. He would give me additions to my chemistry sets to give the experiments a greater, wider range, and would be brought once or twice a year to the open lectures for youngsters in Trinity, where he was an almost daily visitor in those days after retirement. His big passion was the development of the seaweed industry in Ireland, a material that had more uses than just a fertilizer. For him, this was a huge opportunity for the country to get involved in chemical research. In this he was before his time, and those who could have assisted him did not see this still underdeveloped resource. I recall a Japanese professor coming to see him and bringing a number of traditional gifts to the man who she saw as the leader of his field in Europe. I was well tutored in the subject of alchemists and the derivatives that could add to the quality of life for all. Even as a very elderly man, he continued to read the journals of the day so that he could keep up with a passionate interest in all things chemistry. We also did the Sunday Times crossword every week, and we regularly walked from our house in Donnybrook to Dundee and back in an afternoon. It was one of the great privileges of my upbringing to have the wisdom and knowledge of both my mother's parents. They have been involved in a wide variety of interests and development in their Galway years, and I still benefit from their experience.
Penultimate slide. This is his own pleasure, if you like. He used to sit at the dining table writing, typing all the time. And of course now I know what he was writing and typing, I didn't at the time. And many of them were papers and memoirs, and he produced at least 33 chemical papers, many of them with other people, but also on his own behalf. And he had his typewriter, my grandmother had her typewriter, and she's sitting on the side of the table. As Kate mentioned, music was a huge thing. His older brother William had been sent for piano lessons when they were small in Ballina, and it hadn't taken. So he didn't get the benefit, and he regretted it all his life. He absolutely loved music. So one of the things that used to happen, my mother gave John O'Connor, the pianist, key to the house because he was having difficulty practicing at home in his own house, and he came and went practicing. He practiced on one side of the table, and my grandfather on the other side of the table. And every now and then, John would get up to go and tell him, say, "Is that Beethoven?" "Yes." "Good." So once he got up to go, he said, "Who's that?" And John said, "That was Ravel." Passion in Shakespeare all his life, like read to everybody and so on. And the chess we mentioned before, and that's really it. So now, finally, himself and my grandmother had had very stormy times. They had really been parted for a couple of years, and came back together again when he came up to Dublin, with all sorts of comings and goings. Myself and Esther, I can remember a moment in 1966 when it was their 50th wedding anniversary as well, because they got married the day before the Rising, of course. And Owen Dillon, their son, was putting on a dinner for them in Gresham or in Shelburne, and as they were leaving, we saw the look that he gave her, and he never lost it, and neither did she. So there was an intimacy and, of course, knowledge. They fought the Civil War over I heard at the dinner table, the O'Donnell Sales breakfast table, for years and years, and my mother stopped them. But apart from that kind of thing, there were things that they had done and known together and understood together, and the fact that she even had some basic chemistry made a huge difference. So going to post a letter was when they stuck their head around the garden door and said, "We're going to post a letter," and meant they're going to come.
I hope so.
Maybe you can look back at other people who haven't been here and see it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. I'm just going to say a few words of thanks to people, and then I'm going to hand over to the chair of the judges and to announce the Threesis challenge winner. I just briefly thank all the people that contributed today, all the speakers, students who are posters, students with their talks, our international speakers who came, one from Switzerland and one from the United States, and Neil from London, as well as those from other universities, which UCC, UCD, Trinity, and Galway, all of which still have connections. I just want to thank the organising committee, the sponsors, so the sponsors of the Royal Society of Chemistry, NUI Galway, the registrar gave us quite a very generous grant for this, and the research office, the Vice President for Research, and CURA, the Centre for Medical Devices, were funded, supported by Science Foundation Ireland. So I'm very grateful to them for that, and I'm very grateful to the organisers, the organising committee. I mentioned Lokesh Joshi and Abby Pandit and Michelle Coyne. Especially, I really want to thank two on the committee who did way above, more than their share of work. That's Joe Byrne and Sylviana Barada. Really grateful to them because without that, they took care of so much. We couldn't have done it without them. Give a special round of applause. And also to the others who have helped my own research group, did a huge amount. I'm very grateful to them for their help. And I won't name them all in case I forget somebody. I would like to do that, and others helped as well, so Neville was helping with the camera. Francesca Civati was taking photographs, and anybody who I forgot, I'm sorry about that. So there's a reception afterwards, there'll be a glass of wine and whatever, and you're more than welcome to stay and chat and so on. I'll hand over to Angela. Angela can make the announcement and say goodbye and what else. So Angela's special guest professor emerita, kept carbohydrate chemistry going here for years and brought in fantastic conferences like Eurocarb. Got Ireland into the International Carbohydrate Organisation and the European Carbohydrate Organisation. Angela.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm delighted to be back here after taking early retirement 11 years ago and essentially no interaction at all with chemistry in those 11 years, so it's really wonderful to be back here and in such wonderful company. I came to Galway as an undergraduate in 1971, which was the year that Thomas Dillon died. And I was taught by his successor, Professor Frank Call, who was known internationally as Frontiers O'Connell, and also by Dr. Thomas Dillon and Professor Elizabeth Lee. And when I went to Canada to UBC to do my PhD, and I had a choice of about 50 different topics, it was only later when I looked back and saw that I was attracted to polysaccharides. And so I did my doctorate on structures of bacterial polysaccharides and worked there for a while, and then went to Germany to Gießen, which is mentioned here today, and I studied for Liebig's lab. And I came back to Galway then after Professor Cowan retired. I came in at the bottom of the ladder and worked my way up, and retired in 2008, and that was the same year that Professor Paul Murphy came in as head of department and professor of chemistry. And I would like to pay tribute to all that Paul has done, both for the chemistry department as a whole and also for carbohydrate research in Galway and in Ireland over the past 11 years. And I cannot emphasize enough the great standing that Paul Murphy has internationally as a major contributor at international conferences, as a member of the editorial board of carbohydrate research, and as the organizer of various symposia. So this wouldn't have happened today without Paul Murphy, so I'd like you all to put your hands together. Now, without further ado, I'd like to announce the winners of the threesome. Threesis. All of the contributions, I'm sure you all agree, were fantastic. All full of passion, and I continue the threesome theme. But there can only be one winner, and I'm delighted to say, well, I'll say first that the second prize went to Hayden Wilkinson. And unanimously, we decided that Liam Fitzgerald is the first prize.
So we would also like to say a lot of honor for being here, for the beautiful talk, and for dedicating their time and effort, and we are very happy to have you here. Thank you very much.
Very nice wine there.